Okay, good afternoon. We are the next team presenting in this argumentation event. We will be discussing if euthanasia should be legal. We have two sides, the affirmative side with Emil Palomino and Mauricio Garza, and also the opposition side, where it is Narce and Daniel Salas. The debate will be divided in three sections called rounds. The first round will be an idea and an introduction of each side. The second round will be an opinion and also an argument about that theme. And the third round will be a question round where you, the public, will ask us questions to finally make a conclusion. Let's start with round one with the affirmative side. Please, Mauricio Garza, talk. It's your time.
All right, thank you for the time that was given to us to participate in this debate. I will introduce my team. My name is Mauricio Garza. As the first speaker and the third speaker, I will deliver our reasons to be pro with the topic and conclude with our opinion. And my friend Emil Palomino, as the second speaker, he will deliver the arguments in the pro side. We choose to be pro with this topic because the main point of it is ending the suffering of a person, instead of making many efforts in delaying the death, which is inevitable, and at the point, will not be doing much about the suffering. When people see a dying animal in agony, they kill it to release its pain. What makes it so different if we are animals as well? After discussing this topic, we hope that we can increase the positive side and decrease the bad effect.
Okay, thank you very much, Mauricio. Narce, it's your time to introduce the opposition side.
Thank you. First of all, let me introduce my team. My name is Narcedalia, and I'm the first and third speaker. And I'll deliver the reason of us being in contra with this topic, and I'll conclude our arguments. And second, this is my friend Daniel Salas, and he's the second speaker. And he will deliver the arguments in the contra side. Okay, first I'll recite the definition of euthanasia, and with this definition, we'll understand a bit more. The definition is the painless killing of a suffering patient from an incurable and painful disease, or in an irreversible coma. But today we'll be applying the commonly used alternative of this term, which implies the painless killing of a patient which has chosen to do so. This is also considered as assisted suicide, and we're taking this term as a part of euthanasia itself.
Okay, thank you very much, Narce. We will start round two. It will begin with the arguments of the affirmative team. Please, Emil, start talking.
Thank you. Well, our first and main argument is a basic belief of all the human beings. Every human being should be able to decide about their lives, and also about how they will end it. So, we can misunderstand this as a statement that allows someone to just go to a hospital and say, well, I want myself killed. No, you just have to also have like a regulations and proper conditions to approve this, because of course, even though we should know about our bodies, not everyone knows what is the best choice in all cases. So there's where the medical authority, a doctor or someone, that should determine when self-killing is the best option, when like terminal diseases, advanced age cases, or when the person is in a vegetable state. We can compare this to the case of a dog or your own pet that you can just take to the vet and ask for the euthanasia, because your pet is only suffering and it's better to just end with it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Emil. How about the other team arguments? Daniel Salas, time is yours. Thanks. From my point of view, also, I should mention that if everybody has the decision to make that, it could not be like a suicide, just like that, because somebody can decide it in this moment. I want to die. I can't carry anymore my life. So they suicide. Also, if you say medical assistance to do it, it could count as an assisted suicide and sue the doctor with legal causes. This is because of the kind of procedure they are making. Also, most of these decisions are made in times of crisis, so the mind is blurry of this kind of decisions, so not everyone can decide something as hard as this. But yeah, I think that's what I want to say. Thank you, Daniel. Mauricio Garza, you should talk next.
Yep. I'd like to say a death is adequate or good when it is assisted by professionals who help avoid pain. You're not doing technically suicide. They help control the patient's fear and anxiety as much as possible, and then ensure that necessary care is taken. It can happen at home or in a hospital if desired, in company with the family and friends, quickly without prolonging any unnecessary pain, and stop making him feel as a load to the people that are taking care of him. And that will make it a worthy death for him or her if the person explains how he wants the dying process to be, and when his decision is respected.
Okay, thank you very much, Mauricio. Narce, what do you think about this?
Okay, thank you. Okay, but if we make this decision available for anyone, the desiring following this path, the impulse of the person's emotions can decide in a moment of desperation, he wants to seal his faith. Even if they have the characteristics the first argument made reference to, it would be open for anyone who wanted in a moment of despair to end their lives. There's a lot of old people that feel like a burden to their families, or kids who are sick and end up thinking that would be the easier way. But their fate is not sealed yet. Medicine can conclude someone is sick or might die soon, but that does not change the fact that a person can still make the most out of those last moments. And when they refuse that, they deny people around them closure. They deny themselves a possible last contact with happiness this world can provide. And if we consider, as we stated in the start, that assisted suicide is within the terms of euthanasia, anyone can make that decision. Anyone can end their lives and escape social, economical responsibilities, having a family and leave them alone with no debts or no income. Leaving people around you feeling guilty of your dead. All this because people has an impulse that comes when they feel the weakest. An emotion that leaves no reason or objectivism that they can refuse the impulse. Thank you,
Narce. Mil, what could you say about this?
Well, first, if we are talking about allowing euthanasia, we're talking about allowing the people to decide. And if we want to allow the people's desires, so we need to know them. And according to Gallup's annual values and beliefs poll, that of these last 10 years, every time that they ask to the people about euthanasia, more than 70% are in favor of it. So that's a huge amount of people that wants to decide about their lives. Also, if we are not allowing euthanasia, means you're not only that you're not allowing the humans to decide, it means that also you're sometimes condemning them to live in a miserable way. And in an extreme case, if they see that you don't have, if they can get some support, if they don't see the government helping them, or families helping them, or their friends helping them, they will just take the easier path and commit a real suicide, which will, and then what be euthanasia? We are talking about helping people and to know when they actually need to end their lives and when not. And that's why we need to allow the option to end your life when it's what you want, and not if only is the last choice you think you have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mil. Daniel, could you make another move? Of course. I think, well, this is a hard decision. As Narcissus said, it could be made in times of crisis. This is not a decision you can make from one day to another. This could change not your life, but others' lives, because it could have an important psychological impact in other people, leaving the scarred for life of the choose you have on that topic. But also, I think if you say that it's only one option, die or be alive, that is kind of a lie, because medicine now could give you a lot of opportunities of having a good life, a quality life in the rest of your life. Also, if it is like economical situations, there in many countries there exist programs that could help you doing all of this stuff and evading these kind of situations where the only way out could be suicide or euthanasia, giving the giving more options to live for. Thank you, Daniel. Well, time's up. Round two, it's ending now. So we should have the conclusions about these arguments. Please, Mauricio, could you give us a conclusion that is from the affirmative side, please?
Sure, thank you. Well, to conclude, euthanasia, of course, is not something to be happy about, but sometimes it is the only way of stopping someone when they start suffering. And I think we need to be more empathic with the person, and legalizing euthanasia is not obligating anyone to use it, but it gives him the option on the person to do what he decides to do with his own body, and if he wants to have a worthy death, then so be it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. From the opposite side, Narcedalia, could you give us some conclusion to the negative arguments, please?
Of course. From the arguments we provide, we can conclude decisions should come with objectivism first. Allowing euthanasia changes the perspective of people. It evolves to be something of daily life, a decision that is not hard to make. It evolves to be something that is right, because these people with a moment of strong emotions will feel like it's easier. They will run from their lives not knowing they can still find that happiness somewhere. They can still have a last laugh with their family, or a moment that makes them switch their perspective. Death is not a decision to make in despair.
Okay, thank you very much, Narce. Now we shall be starting round three.
It's time for questions.
All right. If it's okay from my group, I would like to make a question about what Narcissus said about the possibility of escaping from social and economic responsibilities with this kind of euthanasia that, in case of being legal, would be a right for any person that will be, in the necessity or in the will of having a assisted suicide. But what do you think that it would be a problem for the person for the people that it's buying something or making huge deals or having this kind of economic problems, that in the moment that the person die will let several legal and economic problems that can affect the families and the people that remains alive at the end?
Okay, who would like to answer the question? Okay, Narce?
Thank you. First of all, teacher, if this is okay, in the pages we had, we could say an experience or a story about this topic. So I will start with that. In a recent lived moment, I found myself in a family, living with a family which had only a mother and 2 sons, and a deaf husband which killed himself because they had too many economical responsibilities, and he couldn't afford to pay them. So in a moment of desperation, he decided to kill himself, leaving his wife and his sons alone. So this can be hard, but it actually happens a lot. In France, a lot of people who are in the agriculture, kill themselves because they can't afford to pay so many debts. It actually can cost more to produce than to sell. So that leaves people with debts they have to pay, and they can't do it all the time. So this is something important we have to have in mind. Euthanasia not just comes with a suffering part in the medical sense, it also comes from a suffering part in the personal sense. And if we allow this term to be normalized, if we allowed euthanasia and the thinking of killing ourselves to be normalized, we will choose this form to escape our problems, which cannot have just an impact in our lives because it's ending them. It can have an impact, a negative impact in other people's lives, in families, or even in state, because now you just not pay your debts. In some countries, when you die, the things you had, if you have debts left, the things you have go directly to the government. That leaving your family with no income, or maybe not a house to live in, etc. So this is something important we have to have in mind also.
Okay, thank you very much, Narce. Someone else from the team who wants to speak about it?
Well,
Yeah, Emil?
I would like to, well, from the affirmative side, to say what we think about it. And yes, it can be the situation of an economic problems, family problems, tons of problems that can involve the situation. So someone can think, well, I prefer to kill myself. But it's like you have to regulate it, as we said. You have to think about it as one more possibility that have the people, but also it's restricted to some conditions. It's not only restricted to medical possibilities, also restricted to what the person has in their lives. If he has debts, it's not like the correct thing to do to allow him to commit suicide. He can watch for some other help. I mean, there's always another way to go, but if we're talking about it's strictly restricted to euthanasia when you have some financial problems, well, the answer is that, well, the government won't allow it. I mean, if you're killing yourself for financial problems and it's not legal because of how is presented euthanasia on your laws, or if because you don't have euthanasia available in your country, well, that will be only a suicide. It can be part of talking about if euthanasia should be allowed or not. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Emil. I would like to talk about it. Of course, Daniel, go for it. From the opposition side of view, I also see if the government can't say no to that, to the euthanasia from the problems you're having, they will quit your capability of deciding. So what you were saying, Emil, it's only like shoot yourself in the foot because you quit the capability of decision from that people, because all the things that they're living through will impede them to get the euthanasia they need or they want. Thank you, Daniel. Mauricio, would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. I would just like to say, I think we didn't really mention it, but also a factor of euthanasia. I mean, the medicaments and all that taking care of the person who's in his lair of death. It becomes really expensive, and at the end, it gets the families a lot of deaths, and they have to suffer a lot even after the death of the person. I think that's another point to take in mind. And also, it's like if the family agrees with it, it's because they know the person. It's not only the decision of that person who is really suffering, because the family know him or her, and they know that it's the best decision, and they can agree on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I would like to conclude all the debate